I think for us, the family, the guilty verdict is just the next step for us, really. It contributes, obviously, to the process of the Italian legal system, and obviously, again, we will have to wait for the report to come out in 90 days' time, which will confirm their reasoning, but it does sort of contribute further next steps to hopefully get to an end to this case for us.
Of course, the fact it's gone on about 6 years now, and I think we're looking at spring of 2015 now for yesterday's decision to be upheld or overturned again. I think I was saying to somebody yesterday, losing somebody close to you is difficult, losing somebody of that age, and obviously in the horrific circumstances that Meredith was killed. It's horrendous, and then to have media attention, worldwide media attention, and the fact it's been drawn out over 6 years just makes it incredibly difficult for us. I think a lot of people perhaps don't appreciate that this is perhaps typical of a case of this nature within the Italian legal system. I'm sure cases of this are perhaps few and far between, but I think it was always a case that there would be appeals and counter appeals in it, and unfortunately for us, obviously, we're a case that falls into this category.
I think we're still on the journey to the truth, and it may be the fact that we don't ever really know what happened that night, which is obviously something that we all have to come to terms with. And as you asked before about the repetition and the length of the case, that's also quite hard to deal with, because you can't ever really get to a point where you can kind of just start to remember Meredith solely, because it is following the case, travelling over to Italy and everything associated with it. But the verdict has been upheld again this time, so we hope that obviously come the end of the trial we are nearer to the truth and an end, so that we can just start to remember Meredith for just who she was and draw a line under it, as it were.
We're not party to any information that's not already in public domain, really. So, as you say, any sort of holes, as it were, in the details of that night, we're very much wondering ourselves at those events.
She's in a very different position to us. However, we have asked to have our wishes respected, in that we would like to just be together as a family, remember Meredith in that sense. And it's not something that we would want to do at the moment, and I can't say that we ever will, simply because, as Lyle said yesterday, regardless now of a guilty or not guilty verdict, a lot has happened over this amount of time. So it would be very difficult to try and meet someone having had all that happen anyway.
No matter what the decision and when it is finally upheld or not, nothing's of course going to bring Meredith back. Nothing will ever take away the horror of what happened to her. The best we can hope for is of course finally bringing this whole case to a conclusion, and a conviction, and everybody can then move on with their lives. Yes, if somebody's found guilty, and this would go for anybody, if somebody's found guilty and convicted of a murder, if an extradition law exists between those two countries, then I don't see why they wouldn't. I imagine it would set a difficult precedent if a country such as the US didn't choose to, go along with laws that they themselves uphold when extraditing, convicted criminals from other countries. It probably leaves them in a strange position not to. They've been released from prison, I think, in 2011 until now. I think they're not deemed as a danger, as it were, hence why Sollecito's passport only has been taken from him, so he's not a flight risk of the country. I guess it on the outside looks like they're in a strange position where they're convicted, but on the other hand seemingly free on a day-to-day basis. But of course, they're living through this as well. This is going to be weighing on their mind until next spring. And as I say, we've obviously discussed the extradition for Knox, but as I say, if Sollecito's passport has been taken from him, then he's obviously not going to be leaving the country either.